What is going on, fam? Today we're in for another unscripted podcast with my best friend Kunal Chatkara. We got a great topic for you guys today. This whole idea came about when I thought about my personal relationships and my diet. And usually when I talk to my friends, I share with them that I eat mostly fruit, meat, and dairy. And their initial response is, so Cameron, you don't eat any carbs? And I get kind of confused by that. And if you're confused by that too, we're here to debunk that whole conversation for you. Kunal, what do you think most Americans think when they think about carbs? And what do you think their main diet consists of when it comes to carbohydrates?
Yeah, I think most people in America consider carbohydrates to be bread, pasta, grains, things of that sort. But as we know, carbohydrates are also found in fruit in the form of fructose.
So if you're
and dairy.
Yeah, so if you're taking all things into consideration, what do you think your body thrives on more, fruit or grains?
Well, let's break it down. This is a pretty big thing we can unpack here. So fruit, as we know it, fructose is metabolized very efficiently and quickly in the body and is also a very natural food source that we've had for thousands of years. We've co-evolved alongside fruits, things that grow naturally from the earth. Grains, like wheat, also grow from the earth but require a significant amount of processing before they become edible. Not just this, most grains have things like phytates and gluten and anti-nutrients in them that are very hard for our digestive system to break down because we don't have the enzymes like phytase to break them down properly.
So what you're saying is if people are eating mostly grains, fries, ice cream, they have a high carb diet, and someone that eats a lot of fruit also has a high carb diet, but they're not equally weighed.
Right, exactly. So you could be eating copious amounts of fruits and still be getting a lot of carbohydrates, maybe even 2-3 cups of raw milk, cheese, things like this. Cheese, you'll probably have a lot less to no carbohydrates in, but dairy, if you're drinking milk, you're eating fruit, there's carbohydrates there. Now, the way the body metabolizes and uses those carbohydrates is far different than if it were from grains, pasta, bread, processed foods.
So let's say someone is working out a lot and they're very active, and their idea is, hey, I want to get a bunch of carbs in so my body can make up for all the calories I lost. And they go and they eat a big bowl of French fries. Pack that down for me.
Well, I think there's a lot better choices you can make there. French fries, especially the ones that we're eating conventionally, often have seed oils, which there's a lot of research now you can take a look at to see it. The seed oils cause a lot of inflammation in the body and just aren't good for you overall. Also, fruit, like we were saying, is better utilized by the body because it's going to have less of a glycemic spike. So your pancreas no longer needs to release as much insulin, and it's not quite as big of a load on your cells. Whereas if you're eating French fries, your body has to do a lot more processing there to utilize that efficiently.
And okay, so the guy, let's say he says, okay, I'm going to cut out French fries. And he takes it one step further and he goes and gets a nice big old Cali burrito and he says, take out the fries. What's going on with him now?
It's still not the healthiest food choice because you're getting it from a restaurant, which is likely cooking in seed oils. And you still got the tortilla on there, which are grains, which are hard for your body to break down, as was mentioned earlier.
So someone that's doing, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, and they might be saying, hey, I got family in Italy and they're eating pasta, pizza, and they look great and they're living really long. How is that different from what we're eating?
Great question. I think there's a lot of variables there. So in Italy, in Europe, oftentimes grains are prepared in a much more holistic way. People are fermenting their grains at home. They're stone grinding their wheat. They're soaking them overnight. This breaks down the phytates and a lot of the indigestible aspects of the grain that our guts can't normally handle. That said, also, I think the lifestyle in Europe is quite different. It's more leisurely. You're having 3 or 4 ounces of red wine with your meal. You're with friends. You're having social connection. There's a lot of other factors that may contribute to a healthier lifestyle and better digestion. Whereas in the U.S., you're often packing fries and a quick drive-through and having a burger, and you're stressed out and you're on this rat race, as we've discussed before.
The rat race.
All of that has an effect on your metabolic system.
So you're saying that if you're working a job that makes you a little bit stressed, that's going to affect how you digest things?
Absolutely. I think there's some research coming out now, if not just anecdotal. You can see there's evidence to point to the fact that your mindset and the state of mind and energy you're in affects how your body digests food and utilizes it. So if I'm stressed out chronically and I have high cortisol, my body's probably going to have a harder time utilizing the food that I'm eating properly.
So that makes a lot of sense, guys. I mean, he's totally right here. And if you're feeling stressed out, you're probably more likely to to go and eat the standard American diet, which is fries, burritos, chips, and whatnot. But I think if you guys, not everyone listening, I know you all have access to different information. If you look at different tribal ways and ways that our ancestors grew, you want to look and see what were they eating and what was bioavailable to them at that time, and then look at how things have evolved throughout the years and how they're using that today.
Right, I think that's a great rule of thumb. You know, if it's found naturally in our natural environment and our ancestors ate it and had access to it, chances are our bodies will do pretty well eating it, digesting it, and utilizing it, because we haven't had a major evolutionary shift biologically in over 10,000 years that we can, date and note.
Yeah, so the big message here, guys, is it does take a little bit of personal responsibility. If you don't know a whole lot about diet and nutrition, I think maybe changing or widening your perspective on biology and what it means to take care of your body. Because if you go outside and you trust what's out there for you, chances are you might get destroyed. Because, and I know that's a very strong term, but I believe it to be true. If you just go out in the grocery store and blindly pick things and not really look into what they are, what do you think people might find if they turned these items on the back and looked at the ingredient labels?
You'll find a lot, and I think that's actually really great advice, because you go to the grocery store and the majority of things on the shelves are processed and have a bunch of filler ingredients. You've got seed oils, you've got carrageenan gums, you've got all kinds of things that aren't naturally found in the environment that our bodies can't use and actually are anti-nutrient, so they'll pull the nutrients from our system.
So walk me through it, Kunal. You're at the grocery store and you go into the cereal aisle or the snack bar aisle and you see something and it's very bright and it says healthy snack, for example. What would be your first line of thought when it goes into making that purchase decision?
Well, this is what I would say. I would say skip the marketing and take a closer look. Turn the bottle over. Even though it may say it's healthy, understand that a lot of companies are going to put this healthy marketing out there to get their products sold. And take a look at the ingredients list. If it's long, if it's lengthy, if it has words in there that you can't pronounce and you don't know where they came from, chances are it's probably unhealthy. If it's a 2 or 3 ingredient list and it's whole food based and you can tell, oh yeah, this is something that I can get individually from the grocery store, it's probably okay to eat. If it's onions and parsley and you're looking at seasonings, for example, and you've got parsley, basil, you've got herbs and onions and various things like that in there, it's probably okay. And if you can get it organic, even better. But now if it's got a bunch of fillers in there like artificial flavoring and maltodextrin and et cetera, which often these foods do have, you're causing a lot of havoc on your body, and really it's counterintuitive to eating healthy.
And guys, I know he's throwing a lot of terms out there. If these sound like a completely different language for you, that means you got a little bit of homework to do, because you should be going to the grocery store now, turning over that ingredient label and looking at all these things. And if you don't know what they are, wouldn't it make sense that you should do a little bit of research before you put it inside your body?
Yeah, I think it really matters. And if we care about our health and our body and we really want to take a forward step into eating healthy and living a vibrant life, it's important to take a closer look and to understand some of these things. But to really just give a really quick, easy tip, just so you have it, I would say replace some of those oils like margarine. You've got soybean oils out there. There's all kinds of vegetable oils, canola oil that really shouldn't be consumed by the human body. Start using things like...
And why is that?
Because they cause a lot of inflammation. They're not naturally found or available in our environment without a lot of processing. And, they're not digestible, and they're often going to cause more damage than any good. Why do restaurants use them? Why do businesses use them? Because it's dirt cheap and it's easy to come by. Now, they do require a lot of processing. You're not going to take soybeans and get the oil out of it, not to mention the estrogens and all the other factors in soybeans that aren't digestible for humans. So what you can do, back to my point, is use coconut oil for cooking. It's a high heat. It's far healthier, far more stable, less volatile in the body. That's another issue with the seed oils. They're very volatile. So you can use tallow, which is great to eat. It's the fat from meat. You can use some other oils. Avocado oil is not as bad. What's another oil? You could use ghee. Ghee is great. Butter is great.
And guys, the point of the message here is don't just run to the store and say, hey, I'm going to go get coconut oil, the first one I find off the shelf. You need to look at the oil, look at the back, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, ideally in a glass container.
Glass, definitely, if you can get it. That way you're not getting microplastics. And again, I mean,
Just
like you're
because
saying,
it's coconut oil and that's what it says on the front doesn't necessarily mean that the company hasn't infected it with other things.
yeah, that it hasn't been adulterated, for so to speak. So take a moment and check out the label and do a deeper look at it. Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of where we were going with the topic today, guys. Coming back to the whole carbohydrate thing, what are some good carbs people could be incorporating into their daily diet? I know coconut water is a big one. If you can get a
Sure.
good organic
Yeah,
one, what's another few ones that you could recommend to people if they're looking to get a little bit more energy and less brain fog?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're just looking for a simple way to get some carbohydrates in your diet, I say fruit's a great way to go. It's a whole food. It has a lot of antioxidants, a lot of flavonols. You're getting a lot of other nutrients alongside, and it's fructose that your body can utilize efficiently and metabolize quickly. Whereas if you're preparing for, let's say, a half marathon, you're going for a long run, maybe you could have some rice. At least this way you're not having the gluten that comes with wheat. And oftentimes, like bread and pastas that have other ingredients added, you can have some rice with some butter and add some other things with it. Yeah.
And there's a whole spike of insulin when it comes to having these highly processed gluten, pasta, breads that we talked about. So that's something to consider. Again, we're not doctors here and we're not providing medical advice. This is just what we found in our own personal journey, and we've found these things to shape our experiences in a better light.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, the glycemic index, as you may have heard of. So essentially, if you're eating carbohydrate foods like bread or pasta, you're oftentimes going to see a high glycemic spike, meaning your pancreas has to release insulin to shuttle the carbohydrates, which becomes glucose, into your cells. With fructose from fruit, it often doesn't have to do that. The processing time is much slower. Your pancreas isn't being overloaded, doesn't have to release insulin. Your liver actually will metabolize it quite efficiently.
We hope you got some value from this. We were just brainstorming some ideas, and this seems to be one of the most topics that, again, going back to my personal example, when I tell them I have fruit, the first response is, so you don't eat carbs. So hopefully this was informational for you. If you have any questions.
Yeah, this is a quick spin-off. We just jumped in to do it, just rattling off some things here, but we can always take a much deeper dive and explore these topics much further.
Hope you all have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace out.